very honored to have you here. And as for Edwina, I would like to start from you ladies first.
Yes, indeed.
I am Wingate Zelalem, and as you know, we focus on this chat all things Africa, the unity of Africans, and also we want Africa to thrive. That's the bottom line of why we do what we do. And, we want to see that happen. If not in our lifetime, maybe in the next generation, we want to set that path, right? So with that being said, thank you both for coming. And I am very honored to have you here. And as for Edwina, I would like to start from you ladies first.
Yes, indeed.
That's okay.
That's fine.
Okay. You are the founder and chair of Seeding Africa.
That is correct.
You are doing quite a lot here on the continent, and I would like to say welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. And for Professor Lumumba, the one and only Professor Lumumba. I was just telling him he's an inspiration, and it's quite an honor to be sitting here next to Professor. And I want to say welcome.
Thank you very much.
So, as I said in the beginning, we promote African unity here on this channel, and that is mainly the focus. I would like both of you to answer it separately. What are your thoughts on the state of Africa today? Are we thriving? That's my question. Edwina.
Okay, well, it depends on thriving in what way. You have economical, you have political, you have spiritual.
All of them.
Okay, economical, we're not really thriving, I think, because the problems we still have, our children, our people are still suffering. They're still living under the normal average or the normal income as other countries. Spiritually, we're getting better, we're getting stronger. And politically, I'll leave that to the professor.
Africa is tottering. Our steps are not steady. If you look at the political arena, we are confused largely. There may be a few exceptions, but we still are very weak. We are manipulated. We inherited systems which are not working well, and if they are working, they are not working in a manner that can help the continent regain her glory. Economically, we have become victims of economic systems that were designed outside of the continent of Africa and are meant to keep us enslaved. Spiritually, we are confused, but we are now beginning to emerge from that confusion. We are beginning to recognize that religion that was midwife to us through Europe had a particular agenda, and our relationship with God as I travel across the continent of Africa is beginning to be reoriented in a manner that does not make Africa feel that they knew no God before others came. Africans are now beginning to realize, as indeed it is the truth, that this is the cradle of human civilization.
Since we're in that topic, if you had to pick one thing that you want to see happen more often on the continent, and one less thing, if you can just cut it down, what would it be? Just one.
Just one?
Just one from each, though. From what you want to see more of, or what?
I want to see Africans moving across the continent of Africa, and because it is in that movement that Africa will begin to unlock her potential. I want to see somebody moving from Dakar in Senegal to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, from Cape Town in South Africa to Cairo in Egypt, from Luanda in Angola to Swakini in Sudan. All borders dissolved.
Amen. And Edwina?
I agree with the professor, and in addition, I would like to see every child. I'd like to see every child knowing how to plant a seed to be able to feed themselves. I would like that, for example, the AU, whatever authority is responsible, I don't want to say the AU, whoever authority is responsible for us, that they make it mandatory that every child, youth from certain age to certain age, gets 1 year mandatory agricultural training, because he who controls the seeds control the man. And that's on the basis that Feeding Africa started because of this, from a nightmare. So if we all can grow our own food, we're independent. Then we can even go from north to south and east to west. So that is what I would like to see. Africa is self-sustainable in organic food and farming.
Okay. So speaking of Seeding Africa, we've seen in recent years when the whole thing happened between Russia and Ukraine, we have realized that African countries were heavily dependent on imports from Ukraine, and there was even like a food insecurity. So, Edwina, what do you think we should do going forward to not be put in that position ever again?
Well, my first idea is a bit controversial, is first that we do a lockdown, shutdown of the continent, where we're a whole continent where we get to gather together by ourselves and we regroup ourselves. But also, I see we should focus on going back to the time before all this GMO and stuff came about. Our ancestors, our grandparents, great-grandparents, they farmed. We didn't have a choice of GMO, non-GMO. It was good food, it was natural. I want us to go back to that time where our food, we knew what we were growing, we knew what we were eating, and we're eating organically, we're eating safely. That's where I want us to go back to our roots. You know, when you have a tree growing, and it starts to go bad, you chip the wings and stuff, but you leave the roots that will regrow again into a better tree. So I want us to go back to where we were before and start again. It's like you have a house and you want to invite people, but if your house is messy, you're not going to invite people in. You have to clean it up first and everything, and then you can say you can come in. So we need to clean up our house first. The professor, I know he's going to elaborate more on it because he's better at words than I am. We clean up the house and then we can invite people in if we choose. But at least first we need to grow ourselves stronger first. We need to eat well. We need to have freedom of movement within our continent. And we need to be free.
Now, I can't agree with Edwina more that one of the critical things that we must have in Africa is the ability to feed ourselves. If you can't feed yourself, you can't claim to be independent. You can't claim to be liberated. And Africa has lost almost all our seeds. Edwina will tell you now that in the next 2 years, China will be the biggest producer of cocoa. Malaysia will be one of the biggest producers of palm oil. She'll tell you that we are importing chicken from Brazil, chicken feed from Brazil. She'll tell you that we are importing rice from Pakistan. She'll tell you that if you look at the largest seed companies in the world, 20 of them, there is not even a single African country or a single African company there. So if Africa is going to be truly independent, we must reclaim our seeds. I remember when I was younger, and Edwina will remember this, your grandmother or your mother had a place above the fireplace where choice seeds would be placed there and they would be replanted and replanted. And in that way, it was also passed on to us that food is medicine. Today, we consume food that we do not control. We do not know what the ingredients are. And when I hear Edwina talking about seeding Africa, it is reclaiming a territory that we have lost. To educate people, and Edwina, I can't agree more with you, that agricultural education must be made mandatory. Every African country claims that agriculture is the backbone of our economy. But when you look at what we do, it contradicts that very statement. So going forward, I can't agree more that we have a duty to educate African governments, to educate Africans at all levels, to ensure that indeed we go back to the basics and rediscover the things that we long lost. And Seeding Africa is our beachhead in that regard. Edwina, we are going to be the wind under your wings to ensure that you fly and soar as we go into every African village. The beauty is that we are already in a number of African countries, and as we move across the continent of Africa, we are going to tell them to ask them, what maize are you consuming? What cassava are you consuming? What yams are you consuming? What avocados are you consuming? What teff are you consuming? Because even teff from Ethiopia, I'm told they are now beginning to grow teff in the United States of America. So soon they'll say, oh, teff in Africa is made out of child labor, therefore we ban it. And what they call child labor is just child work in order to educate our young boys and girls how to tend their farms. Thank you.
Why do you think we're not even in that list? Or did we forget the value and the importance of growing our own food? Or what went wrong for us to be in this position right now of dependence on others?
We slept through a revolution. There is a man called Ivan Washington who wrote a book called Rip Van Winkle. And Rip Van Winkle is a character who goes into a mountain in Catskill in New York, and he is given a drink by some Dutch people. And he slips through a revolution. We were sleeping. When we were sleeping, I think we were not even sleeping. The sleep was induced. Then when we were sleeping, they made us develop appetite for Kentucky Fried Chicken. They made us acquire appetite for potatoes from the United States of America and all these other places. We are now awake. And in this state in which we are discovering rather belatedly that while we were in that state of comatose, a lot of things had happened. Our seeds had been taken away. We had been persuaded that GMOs was the way to go. We had been persuaded to do things that we never used to do. In this new state of rediscovery, we are now saying the territory that we lost must be reclaimed. And that is how I understand seeding Africa. It's not for the faint-hearted. It is something that the headwinds are so heavy. When you go into the companies which are controlling seeds in Africa like Monsanto and Syngenta, they'll fight you because that is their bread and butter. But every African country must now make a decision. If Africa is going to survive and thrive, the very first thing that you must do, even in a household, feed yourself and feed yourself well, because the quality of food that you eat determines your life and determines your health. And this is what we are saying. This is what I hear seeding Africa, telling the world and Africa.
Yeah, you touched on it. The next question I wanted to ask was about citizens as like average people without, depending on the government or in relation with the government. How can we feed ourselves just individually? What's the individually, what responsibility can we take in order to fix that problem? Kind of governance.
Let me ask that question. I gave you a typical example. When I was here, I've been ordering only organic vegetables and fruits. I ordered this paprika. I thought it was paprika, so it was actually what? But I took the seeds too, and there was a lot of seeds in one, and I dried it here. And I sent it to Ethiopia with our sisters, and I'm going to do the same. So every time anyone sees a seed that is or fruit or a vegetable that is organic, take the seeds and dry it and use it and multiply it and grow it. How can you grow without depending on the government or whatever? You can grow right in your garden. If you don't have a garden and you have a balcony, you can take these rice bags and put soil in it and everything and put your seed into it. It will grow. So you can grow, even if that's usually for people who are living in the in urban areas, you can even grow on your rooftops. So there are many ways of growing. Once you have access to soil, good soil, you have access to organic seeds. Organic seeds are expensive, but if you buy organic fruit, you can replant it. So you can, right on the balcony, I can plant a bag, so it's quite easy. And I think it's good that we all take control of how we grow our own food. We grow our own little vegetables in our backyard. At least we know we have something we go and get, and we know how we grew it and where it came from. We're in control of what comes into our body.
Let's look at it. When we say, for example, Africa says that this is a year of agriculture and nutrition, what deliberate effort do we make? We don't. Suppose in every African country, in every primary school, they were to say that every child must have their own plot to till. There may not be enough land, but you can make sure that a group of young people have their plot to till in every primary school, then in every secondary school. And they tell them what we want done there is organic food. And that happened throughout the continent of Africa. You can imagine what it would do, that this becomes a policy which is articulated at the continental level and cascaded to the people. Then every child would have to swear by agriculture and to swear by the quality of the food that they are growing. Let me tell you, it would be amazing. Edwina talked about locking down Africa. Perhaps it cannot be totally, but there was a time when in Japan, they did not allow the importation of rice. That is the kind of locking down that you want to have happen in Africa, so that you ensure within a certain period you are not polluting your own seed. You say, Monsanto, Syngenta, we hear you. But for the next 5 years, we are not interested. We are redeveloping our own seeds. And once we do that, then we begin to patent our seeds, which are organic. We begin to make sure that our national bureaus of standardization have a standard so that we are able to distinguish between organic and the GMOs and shut the GMOs out. Our universities, faculties of agriculture, must also be involved in this exercise. This is what I hear Seeding Africa talking about. And in the context of the Pan-African Institute, Seeding Africa is going to have a seat there for purposes of spreading this agenda. You talked about Ukraine. When we consume wheat from Ukraine, we don't even know the quality. When we grow our own food, we will determine the quality, and we will know the quality, and we'll consume that which is from our soil.
Beautiful. This reminds me of, I heard once a young lady talking about how nowadays the reason why the younger generation doesn't even want to get involved, doesn't even care to know more about growing food and agriculture is because she was showing posters of how agriculture is being seen here. It's like almost close to poverty because people are not getting money. Our farmers are not getting what they deserve and all that. So young people see that as like not a positive thing. And she was even saying, let's make agriculture sexy. Like, let's send it to the youth and show that like, look, agriculture, like put me in the poster.
I remember that young Ugandan girl. Amazing. Yeah.
So I think it's also very important to educate the younger generation that agriculture is not just like this thing, the old thing that we should just forget about or just for the farmers. It can be each and every one of us contributing to this.
I want to add to something that you said right there. I heard about romanticizing agriculture. And yes, agriculture, the youth of today is one problem we face at Seeding Africa. We aim our project at 60% of the youth. But the thing is, it is true that the local farmers are not getting much, but that's because they buy GMOs. They buy herbicides, pesticides, all the bad sides they buy. And by the time they finish buying those, or when they harvest and they sell, they have very little left to feed their families because these things cost a lot of money. And we must realize that GMO seeds, you cannot multiply them. It destroys the soil. So you're spending a lot of money on these seeds and on all these bad sides. I call it the bad sides, on the pesticide, herbicides, all of them. But with organic farming, with organic seeds, you can multiply it and multiply it. It's good for the environment. And you don't have to use all those bad sides. You can use organic fertilizer. At Seeding Africa, we make our own organic fertilizer from scratch. We may even they want to protect to clean the soil because you have these certain little pests, But you can use simple stuff like garlic, ginger, pepper, neem leaf to mix it together with water. You spray it. It's not damaging the soil or anything. So you have to go from the roots organically, and when you do that, you save money because the money you save on the GMO seeds, on the bad size pesticides, is a lot. And then on top of that, the value of an organic food, fruit or vegetable, it is much higher when you sell it than a non-organic food. So you gain a lot of money. So it is beneficial for you. So if they would go organic, they would make a lot of money. And they have a lot of young farmers in Africa who are doing well because they saw through the maize. And let's not forget, we have the media they're telling us, oh, farming is not good. So everybody wants to go in one direction. But if we all go in one direction, my nightmare is going to come true that I had in 2020. And I don't want that to come true. So that's why we have to go the right direction. We have to go organic. It's the only thing that can save us. It's the only thing, one of the only things that can save us. So we really need to do that, and we need to create a massive awareness campaign on the continent, and get our youth involved and show them the benefits of eating organic, growing organic, living organic. It as the professor said earlier, it helps against diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, all of those things. So you save a medical cost. You save a lot, and it's the same amount of work. That's the beauty about it. You don't work extra if you go organic. You don't work extra if you go GMO, but you spend extra and you lose more with one or the other.
You remember when we were in Malawi, and I think it's Wademeyer who interviewed a young man not too far from the capital in Lilongwe in Malawi, who produces 99% of what he consumes from the farm, from toothpaste to everything, and is all organic. So the one thing that I think going forward Africa can market to the world in the not too distant future is our ability to produce food that is organic. And that is doable within a very short time.
Exactly.
And if we do it and do it in a concerted manner, then I can tell you that a lot is going to be achieved. And you need organizations that have thought through these in order to share the knowledge and the experience, and to ensure that it starts at the very grassroots and then is upscaled in a manner that will benefit people in a big way. Remember, in your traditional African societies, you always had a kitchen garden, and that kitchen garden always ensured that nobody would go hungry. There would always be a banana there. There would always be some pumpkin.
Oranges.
There would always be some oranges. And when you are washing your dishes, you would always use the water. And in that way, you are irrigating. And nobody could actually go hungry. So as Seeding Africa goes through Africa, one of the things that you're going to do is to ensure be organic. But even if you are in an urban area, don't complain about land. Take soil, put it in a sack, produce your own cabbages, produce your own tomatoes, produce your own capsicum. If you are in rural Africa, then you have the luxury of land. Make sure you produce your own manure, and these things are achievable. They have been achieved. Hey, just tell you, my dear sis, look at India with a population of 1.4 billion. How do they feed themselves? Look at China with a population of 1.4 billion. How do they feed themselves? The African woman in rural Africa works harder than any one of those looking for water. But because we have been victimized through imported seeds, post-harvest loss is amazing. I was looking at a footage in Niger after they closed the border between Niger and Nigeria. On one day in a market, they lost all their tomatoes because they were relying on the market in Nigeria. These are things that we must do. And you younger people who are now in the business of giving the oxygen of publicity to these beautiful things, It is your duty to become crusaders for seeding Africa and all good initiatives. So today I hope you'll be constituted into a crusader for seeding Africa.
And in addition, thank you, Professor. In addition to what the professor said about the young guy that would interviewed in Malawi, the guy who's growing stuff even for toothpaste and everything, I'm sure that the audience were probably asking, how can you make herbs and stuff into toothpaste? Now, the thing is, you can. In fact, it's really better. When you use regular toothpaste, you have dental problems all the time. You have to go to the dentist all the time. But I know also how to make my own toothpaste. I make my own. And since I started making my own, I haven't been to the dentist for 2 years. I haven't had no toothache. And I can say my formula right here, because what I learned in herbals, I don't keep it for myself because I want all our African people to learn it too. So I share what I learned from my research, from my mixing and my experimenting. And the recipe for a good healthy toothpaste is turmeric, clove de girofle, that's French. What do you call it again? Clove de girofle. Cloves, yes, thank you. I mix French with cloves. Yeah, ginger, and you can put some cayenne pepper, that's optional, and some salt. But those three, they are the main ingredients. If you have cardamom, you can add it to it for the whiteness. But trust me, if you do those three, your mouth will feel so fresh, you will not go to the dentist. I used to pay hundreds of kronas in Norway to go to the dentist all the time. You know, they even took out two. Okay, that's the first time.
We are all prisoners of Colgate, Palmolive, and Pepsodent. Yeah.
But the turmeric doesn't make it yellow. I don't.
Nope, it does not. It makes your toothbrush yellow, but it does not make it yellow because you're just gonna rinse it off. And you can add cardamom if you want, plus black pepper. There's optional black pepper and cardamom, but make sure it's turmeric, cloves, and ginger. Ginger's for the taste, and so they work together. And it lasts. You have it in powder.
And also, I hear turmeric is safe.
Yes, but for the face, I would always say it's best to wash it, keep it clean. And don't put anything, if you're going to put anything on your face, it should be 100% organic. Don't put anything on your body that you cannot put into your mouth.
Like shea butter.
Yeah, my shea butter and my coconut butter, I can put it on bread and eat it. Yeah, because I know it's organic. I know where I source it from. You know, so but I make sure I put clean fork or spoon in it into the thing, you know. Yeah.
But what if we want some scent?
Oh, like you smell my hair product, right? I add a rosemary.
Oh. Okay, noted. So speaking of Niger, you mentioned Niger. So people might, like Africans might be like, okay, there's so much insecurity already, like in Niger with the coups that are happening in the western region of Africa, and with corruption, with inflation. Like, how do we make them focus in this very much so important topic, but how do we make them understand it's as important because there's a lot of suffering going on. This is not a priority for me right now, but how do we communicate that to our people?
Well, currently as we speak, Seeding Africa, along with One Map Africa, we partnered with them and Saba. We are looking into how we can get emergency aid to our brothers and sisters in Niger. We are talking about it, and we take it very seriously because we know that they need these things, especially when it comes to seeds and daily things that they need to survive. Also books and stuff for the kids. But the thing is, we need the support to be able to do this. And we also need someone inside a way to get these things through. Because we don't want the foreigners to deposit stuff there. We don't know. It's like sending something in a Trojan horse. We don't know what they'll be sending. So we know we need to send it ourselves to them. So we will be posting, keep on our website, either on Saba's or One Map Africa or Seeding Africa or 3. When it's done, once we get the support in, because we cannot do everything by ourselves. We need each other. If not, we're nothing.
And I think that is very critical, and it is important to appreciate that the problems that we are confronting now are problems that we must fight and eliminate. So we should not stop what we are doing for the long term because of the short-term difficulties that we have. You know that Africa is going through a very difficult period in terms of the conflicts in different parts of the continent. But yet, even as we talk about the refugees that we now have in Chad, in Ethiopia, in Cameroon and in the Sahelian region, all of them need food. But what is the kind of food that we are giving to them? Some of this food through the World Food Program are the food stuff that we are importing from the United States of America out of 5 years harvest, harvest 5 years ago from Brazil. One of the things that we must do, and I believe we are going to do it, is to begin to have a campaign to deal with, to make our contribution to what is happening in the Sahel and in Eastern Congo and in Cameroon and in Sudan. But in the long haul, it must also be remembered that there are certain things that we thought were short-term have now become permanent. If you go to Kakuma, for example, here in Kenya, where there are Southern Sudanese refugees, it's one of the biggest towns in that part of Kenya. And you must now teach people agriculture. You must now teach them how to plant, how to grow, and do all these things. So my message is, let us not for one moment allow a momentary disruption to interfere with our long-term objective. Our long-term objective is to have an Africa which can feed ourselves using organic seeds, feed ourselves using things that are grown outside of the continent of Africa. And that requires that all hands must be on deck. That requires that all governments must be persuaded that our policy direction, because this is critical at governmental level. What is government policy? What is the policy of our ministries of agriculture? What are our research institutions doing continentally and regionally? Because it makes great sense that if we are in the ECOWAS region, we make a decision that no more GMOs. In East Africa, no more GMOs. In the Maghreb, no more GMOs. Once we do that, then it becomes very easy continentally to take a decision, no more GMOs, and the message is organic, organic, organic.
I love that. And obviously, from what we hear, Seeding Africa is a very important organization. And we need even more organizations like that. But as per now, and for Seeding Africa, how can us people, just average people, how do we support Seeding Africa so that it can even be bigger than what it already is?
First, you can help us create more chapters in all the countries, because our aim is to spread all over Africa. That's the first thing. For example, we need one in Ethiopia. So that's one start. You can help with that. And you can donate. You can donate to a specific country. You can donate. You can share us. Share our information, and you can donate. So there are many ways of supporting Seeding Africa. You can say even, I have land here. We need seeds. We can get the seeds so you can get the people around you to cultivate the land and grow seeds. Because not only are we growing, we're also multiplying seeds, and we're creating seed banks. That's the aim. Our first seed bank, official seed bank, will be in, that's it?
Yes.
Malawi. Yeah. But unofficially in Zimbabwe, with our partner, we have a very, very traditional seed bank. I'm so proud of it, because they're growing holistically, like my food, my soul, something like that. Mm-hmm. But they store the seeds in a mountain, in a spiritual mountain, in caves, in these clay pots. I can tell you guys where it is, but that's where the story. You can see the clay pots with all these traditional organic seeds. Yeah, seeds. You can see them in these clay pots in the cave. Yeah, and it's the best way to store seeds. Like in Norway, for example, they have the most seeds besides Russia in the world, and they store the seeds from every variety. They store it in the mountain because it's natural energy, natural. So some seeds, if you put too much sun, they'll start growing roots. You have to have the perfect temperature. Some seeds take different temperature than others. And I think with mountains, it goes, fluctuates and stuff. But I love our seed, the local seed bank that the locals established there. It's beautiful. I've seen the view and I want to go and see it. My dream is to have all of us having in each village a seed bank like that, because no one will know, like in this shrine or the sacred place, just store your seeds there. But we're going to have official seed banks. Of course, we're working on that. We need the support on that. So if you guys want to have seed banks in your area, keep supporting us. Go on our website and you will see. Just support us because our seed bank is our survival. Because we can multiply and multiply, and when we're out of seeds, we can share and share and share. And I would suggest and advise people, if you have seeds, want to multiply them, share with your neighbor, ask them to share, pay it forward, share. That's how we'll get out of this.
Well, I learned something new today, the importance of seeding, honestly. And so thank you guys so much for coming here. But before we conclude, if you want to say anything to our audience, feel free.
I think the message is quite clear. People who cannot feed themselves cannot be truly independent. And it is therefore incumbent upon all Africans to ensure that we reclaim our seeds, preserve our seeds, and share our seeds for this generation and generations yet to be born.
I agree with the professor 100%. Well, he's right. I mean, no, I can't add to that because that was just perfect. that was just perfect, Yeah.
That then we can end it there. Thank you guys so much for
you too.
here and talking to me, us, and we shall continue following up on Seeding Africa.
Thank you.
And as always,
Thank you.
we're always talking about you on my channel. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Yes, she does, huh? I watch her a lot, so she does.
So thank you so much. With that, we will put any kind of link that you would like to share with us, the foundation that you talked about, or like to support anybody that is interested. So we'll put it in the description so that people can go and click on it. So yeah, with that.
Thank you.